Welcome back to today's video. In today's video, we're going to take a look at my prediction for the 2024 Senate election as of July 20th, 2024. As in today's video, make sure to subscribe button down below and like the video. Let's get into today's video. You're taking a look at our electoral map and kind of where exactly we're heading from west to east. So taking a look, let's go ahead and kind of fill this out and kind of get some prefacing material down at the beginning. So we're going into a general election year, which means that there will be a heavy down ballot effect. Now, this down ballot effect will have an extreme effect on the Senate elections, regardless of what you think. It has been proven throughout almost every election that when you have a popular incumbent or a popular challenger going against an incumbent, that party which does better in the presidential election, generally speaking, does better in the Senate elections compared to if they were going in with the unpopular incumbent or an unpopular challenger. Now, taking a look at our general election as of right now, Donald Trump is currently at a very good position right now to win the presidency. He's currently ahead in a ton of swing states, even in states that he lost in by double digits in the 2020 election. For example, the state of Virginia, he's currently ahead by 0.4% as of some recent polls. In fact, I believe he's actually ahead by more than 0.4% because if you take a look at some of these polls that were taken more recently, showing Trump ahead by 2% and 3%, you can see that the polls here were taken very recently compared to the New York Times Siena poll, which was Biden up by 3 points. This poll was taken actually in July 15th. So it was actually taken pretty recently. But in some of these polls here that show Biden tied and stuff like that, these were taken quite some time ago compared to a lot of the polls taken here showing Trump and Biden, Trump having a pretty good lead there. So I think he might even be ahead by around 1 to 2%. But when you look at the general election, as I just showed there, for example, in the state of Virginia or even states like Wisconsin, where he's currently ahead by double digits, 3.3% in the state of Wisconsin, highest margin in quite some time that he's ahead in this state. Michigan, 1.7% in the state of Michigan. He's going up in this state. Nevada, he's also ahead in a state that Republicans lost in 2022 by a narrow margin. And a lot of these states where Trump is doing extremely well, even, for example, take a look at the state of North Carolina, which Trump only won by around 1%, 1.4%. He's leading by 5.7%. So when you take a look at a lot of these states, you can see that Donald Trump is doing very well, which means that the GOP is running an extremely, not necessarily popular, I would say, but an incumbent, not an incumbent, but a challenger rather, who is doing very good in the key battleground states against the person who's at the very top of the ballot, President Joe Biden. So this will have obviously an extremely positive down ballot effect for Republicans. Now, it might not be as positive as you may think. So, for instance, Kari Lake. Kari Lake is obviously she ran for governor in 2022. She lost there. Now she's running for the Senate. Do I think Kari Lake is going to win? Well, I mean, it's very difficult at this point for Kari Lake to win. If you look at a lot of polls where you take a look at kind of the same voter group, there are some polls that are taken where you have the exact same voter group, and you basically ask that same voter group, who are you going to vote for president, Trump or Biden? And they say Trump by a +5 margin. And you ask that same voter group at that specific time, who are you going to vote for your Senate candidate in Arizona? Kari Lake or the challenger to Kari Lake, ends up leading by around 6 points. Even when you ask it among the same group, you see that there's actually an 11-point shift in terms of the support for Trump compared to the support for Kari Lake. So Arizona is obviously a key critical state in that particular scenario there. Also, the state of Nevada, it's not looking too good for Republicans. They could possibly end up winning there, but not looking too good at all either. Montana is another state where Republicans are currently down in the polls. Nevertheless, I think Republicans are still going to end up winning. Montana is a deep red state. The last time there was an election in Montana, I believe, was in 2018. 2018 was the last time they had a Senate election there for this particular race. In the 2018 midterm election, obviously, since midterm elections for each of the Senate seats happen every 6 years, so last time was 2018. But last time, their Democrat ended up winning by only around 3%, and that was actually in a non-general election year. And also for the state of Ohio, Republicans are doing really good in the state of Ohio. They're currently ahead in most polls. If you take a look at the RCP aggregate currently, Donald Trump is ahead by 10.7%. 10.7% of the most recent Remington research poll that was taken around July 3rd. You can see that Donald Trump was ahead by 10% in a Survey USA poll that was taken, I believe, on March 12th, it also showed Trump ahead by 12 points. So in a lot of the polls, Donald Trump is doing pretty good. The Democrat incumbent actually in that state is ahead by 10% or by 5% in most of the polls. Around 2 to 5% he's ahead in. So that will obviously spell a little bit of trouble. Although Ohio is such a kind of like a likely red state at this point that I think it's very difficult for a Democrat who's in a likely red state in an incumbency in a general election year to win in that specific district, that specific state. It's extremely difficult for them to keep that district on hold, that state on hold. So it's going to be very difficult for them to do that. Let's go ahead and fill out some of these seats here for the Democrats and Republicans here. Obviously, we have several of the safe seats that Democrats and Republicans do not want to necessarily be spending that much time on. But you can see these individual states as we're filling them out. We're going to give the Democrats Hawaii. We're going to give the Republicans rather, Texas and Florida by likely margins. And by the way, as you can see, this already puts them at 50 seats in the Senate. Republicans are in a very good position to win in the Senate for 2024. If you take a look at the map, if they win the presidency, which they have a very high chance of winning right now, I would say Donald Trump at this point has around a 70 to 80% chance of winning the presidency right now. If they were to win the presidency, even if they don't win any of the swing states, they still have a majority with 50 Senate seats due to the fact that the vice president, who is J.D. Vance, if Donald Trump were to win the presidency, would actually be the president of the Senate and would hence deliver the Senate Republicans with a upper hand there, assuming all of the Senate Republicans stay within their party's line. So New Jersey will go by a likely margin there, likely margin in the state of New Jersey. New Jersey is a right-trending state as far as the general election is concerned. There was a poll taken in New Jersey recently, which showed a while ago actually, which showed Donald Trump leading Joe Biden by 1% in the state of New Jersey. So it is shifting towards the right in this particular election. So I'm going to go ahead and put it for the Senate candidate as being likely. As far as these individual Senate seats are concerned, which is going to vote more right? Is it going to be the presidency or the Senate? Well, it's pretty clear if you take a look at the map where the polls are showing us where the direction our country is headed right now. The presidency, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, the presidency will shift more to the right. The general election will shift more to the right compared to the Senate election. Senate Democrats do much better than Joe Biden. They're much more likable among voters. They're much more, in terms of winning elections, it's very simple for them to win elections. And that's one of the reasons why you're seeing a lot of Democrats really talking about replacing Joe Biden as well as Joe Biden getting COVID. And, a lot of Democrats talking about that. Even Adam Schiff from California was talking about that as well. I believe the fourth Democratic senator to actually endorse the idea of Joe Biden dropping out of the race. So you see that Joe Biden is an extremely unpopular candidate. And really, if the Democrats were to replace the Joe Biden with really a moderate Democrat, a left center type Democrat, such as John Tester or somebody else like that, I think they'd have a very good shot going up in the general election. The question is, will the Democrats do this? Currently, I'm assuming no, because it seems like Joe Biden is very defiant on staying in the presidency. He's very defiant on going up in this election year. And you even saw a recent video actually of him recently, I believe a day or two ago, or maybe even today, of him saying that he will stay in the race. And that's going to be a horrible effect for Senate Democrats. By the way, you see all these Democrats here, Adam Schiff, all these Democrats. He's the fourth Senate Democrat to say that Joe Biden needs to step down. You're seeing all these Democrats come out and saying that Joe Biden needs to step down. By the way, it's not only because they believe that they're going to lose the presidency. It's also because they believe that they can lose several of these key Senate seats as well as several key House seats. Remember, it's not only if Joe Biden stays in the race, it's not only to the detriment of the presidency for Joe Biden and the Democrats, but it's also to the detriment of the Senate Democrats, the House Democrats. It's going to be to the detriment of the entire Democratic Party as a whole. Because currently, if Joe Biden stays in this race, Republicans have a very easy shot of having a majority, regaining a majority in the Senate for the first time since 2018, keeping their majority, even possibly expanding their majority in the House, and winning the presidency. So they have a very high shot with Joe Biden in charge here, really. It's going to have horrible down ballot effects. So the idea that all these Democrats and these House Democrats, not a lot, a few, I will say, I don't want to make it seem, I don't want to hyperbolize this, but the reason why they're saying Joe Biden needs to leave is not just because of the fact that they're scared of losing the presidency, but also because they're scared of losing the Senate. They're, losing the Senate and losing more seats in the House. All right, so keeping this on here, going on from this electoral map, let's go ahead and give the state of New Mexico to the Democrats by a likely margin. Again, Joe Biden's probably going to end up winning the state of New Mexico by a likely or lean margin, probably by maybe I believe maybe a 4-point or 3-point margin, maybe a 2-point margin. You never know how close it could go in New Mexico. But following that, let's go ahead and give the Democrats quite a few of the Rust Belt states. And again, this is one of the reasons why the Democrats need to nominate somebody else. Because here's the thing, if the Democrats win the Rust Belt, the entire Rust Belt, those 3 Rust Belt states, they reach almost enough electoral votes to win the presidency if Joe Biden wins the Rust Belt. In fact, Joe Biden at this point, his only path towards winning the presidency is going to be to win these 3 Rust Belt states, which currently he is behind in. And this is one of the reasons why Democrats are saying Joe Biden needs to drop out, because he does not seem to be in a very good position of winning these Rust Belt states, an extremely bad position. Also, the state of Minnesota, they're going to win this state by a lean margin, most likely a lean margin. Joe Biden is probably going to lose the state of Minnesota currently. I'm going to say that Joe Biden's probably going to lose the state of Minnesota, and it's going to be really bad for the Democrats going into this election year. New York is another state we're going to give it to the Democrats by a likely margin. Joe Biden is probably going to win the state of New York by a lean margin, possibly a likely margin, but there's a good chance he could win it by a lean margin as well. Moving on from that, let's go ahead and give the state of Virginia to the Democrats there. Virginia to the Democrats by around a likely lean margin. Let's go ahead and put it as being a lean margin. And for some other states here, let's go ahead and give the state of Maine to the Democrats there. Maine to the Democrats by a lean margin. And moving on from that particular state, let's go ahead and give several of these states that are going to be really key to this election: Ohio, Montana, Nevada. Arizona, you could really argue about that. I don't think Kari Lake is going to win here. I think Kari Lake is more of just a representative figure for the GOP, just giving speeches and stuff like that, rather than actually somebody who's actually going to legislate, frankly. And I think she does do a better job in that particular role, just because of the fact that how much she gives speeches and stuff like that. I don't necessarily think that she's that good of a candidate. Actually, I think she's more of a representative of the GOP rather than just somebody who's actually going to win an election. She's not necessarily going to win an election. She's very behind in Arizona. She's behind of her Democratic challenger by large margins. She's not going to end up winning in this Senate seats, and Democrats could possibly end up winning this by a tilt margin. Tilt margin for me is just under 5%. That's just how I do it. But by a tilt margin there. Nevada is going to be a tricky state. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the tilt margin right now. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the tilt margin. You can argue with me about that, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in the tilt margin for now. Also, the state of Montana, I'm going to go ahead and put it for the Republicans in the tilt margin, and Ohio by a tilt margin as well. So this is my current Senate map. Currently, Republicans are at 52 seats and Democrats at 48 seats. Now, this is obviously not I wouldn't say a close race, considering in the last few Senate elections, particularly the 2022 and 2020 Senate midterm elections, we have seen the Democrats only ended up winning a majority with 50 seats and 51 seats, respectively. Technically, it's actually 51 seats and 52 seats if you include Vice President Kamala Harris. But it's very slim, and this would be the largest margin actually for one party to win in the Senate since I believe 2018. Actually, since 2018, this would be the largest margin in terms of the actual Senate, excluding the vice presidency. So this is for my prediction. Write down in the comment section whether or not you agree or disagree. Make sure you also go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and like the video. Share this video if you think that it is actually good enough for that. But make sure you hit the subscribe button. Definitely subscribe to the channel. And write in the comment section also whether or not you think J.D. Vance is a good vice presidential pick for Donald Trump to pick. And I'll see you in the next video.